Hi, everybody. Today is Thursday, Halloween, October 31st. And thank you, King Kartoshka of Spudlandia, for joining us once again, this time bringing us a very special Halloween Spanker Treat edition. So on our last call, which was Unicorn Report number 5, that we did on QSI's 3rd birthday party, you were able to help shed more light on Biblical D-Class. And I don't know if you know this, but since then, it has played almost 18,000 times with over 100 downloads, making it one of our top 10 most watched videos to date. So congratulations on that. I think we can safely say everybody loves you, and maybe you might even overtake Ben. So how have you been?
Well, thank you. That's really impressive, those numbers. Um, and I wish that one day maybe I can overtake Ben. Yeah. For me, everything was good. I hope that you are all well as well. So let's jump into today's call. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, well, all's well is well. And if Ben doesn't get his buddy back soon, then I think you will have a very easy time overtaking him. So let's get started. I think people who are watching this call right now are probably chuckling, going, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. So let's kind of walk through the background. Father of AI and decoding / encoding. Now, people who have been in QSI for a little bit, they know that about almost 2 weeks ago, we had a movie that played the other day, and it was called The Imitation Game, that featured the life story of Alan Turing. And so here Sarah says, my apologies if it's already been said, but that he was another white hat incarnation. As an example, was he an original team member, etc., paving the way for Stellar? And then Dan said, how old would Alan Turing be if he were alive today? About 112 years old? I wonder if Turing would be medbedded. Over here, a whole bunch of different people asked, is Alan Turing a Stellar developer? And then some people said, this one in particular is from Michelle, and she had done a whole bunch of research on Alan Turing, said, I think he faked his death, and I think he's actually working with the Russians. And then over here, we have a couple more people that said, oh my gosh, is Alan Turing white hat home? That seems to be a possibility. And all the while, when I was watching this video, right after it ended, right before the second batch of people on QSI finished watching the movie together, I had messaged White Hat Home, you, and Bun Bun all at the same time saying, holy bananas, is White Hat Home Alan Turing? And said you had come to design the computer to kick off future AI/ML and blockchain, but incarnate in a body that is aloof from society, so you could design a quick exit after your task was complete. If not you, meaning if not White Hat Home, then maybe Bun Bun or Puree, since they are scientific too, but you are the ledger master after all. So Potato Head messaged back and said, how did you guess it? And so that's when I was, kind of talking with him and joking about it. And so he said, come on now, you have to take a precise guess. Who of the three of us is it? And I said, okay, well, White Hat Home is a ledger master, so it would make sense that he would create blockchain and AI/ML, but you and Bun Bun love making new technology. And I said, I'm guessing it's not Albie, because Albie's gadgets seem to be more space sciencey and frequency based than pure math and number crunching. And is that at least correct? And Yuri said, yes. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with White Hat Home again as my final answer. And Yuri said, haha, well, now I have to provide you either spank time or a second chance. What do you choose? And I said, why can't I have both? And he said, I can't have both. Yay. So then I said, okay, my next guess is Bunny, because he still seems to be more like a scheduler, a planner, a math guy, although your potato math is pretty elite. But I said his ICO seemed to be more AI mathy too. And Yuri said, I can't believe this. A panda and a bunny are teaming up against a pork kartoshka. And I said, oh my God, you're Alan. And he said, I'm an innocent vegetable. You underestimate me. So I add this because I know people love to kind of have a sneaky peek back into our PMs. And this was my thought process going into unmasking which developer is Alan Turing? So thank you for agreeing to it. I know you've said here in the PM that we would definitely talk more about you being Alan Turing on this particular call. So just to reiterate, I know you're going to be providing me a spanking. So I'm very excited to be receiving my first spanking live in front of the whole audience. I hope you have something good prepared for me. I don't know if you want to spank me now or spank me later.
I guess later we'll do that because I'm uncomfortable to do it live in front of all of them.
Oh, stage shy. Okay, we'll do a spanking later. So before I get
Definitely.
into the actual interview section, I want to end on this one note because I love this message that Manuel had said. And this is from September 13. And you guys remember, pretty much all year I've been saying steady stellar. And so I'm just going to read these pink boxes. And Manuel says, the August D classes, as Emily had promised, had been absolutely hot. Ever since I came into QSI, I have wondered, how can Emily see what she sees? The day she declassed the horses of the book of Revelation, or the Bible book of Revelation, I got it. She's wearing the stellar glasses. Of course, she is also doing that because she's Emily. How could she also understand that ISO 20022 is stellar and research a stretch of history that spans from Confucius and Tao to the role of the Jesuits during the Age of Enlightenment to Two Toes, Hitler, and Kennedy? Well, she was wearing stellar glasses. And then if I skip over to here, it says, through the stellar glasses, Emily could see how the White Hats seemed to lose one battle after another because they are looking further to, quote unquote, win the war. They were all working through time for thousands of years in space through different dimensions to prepare for a cosmic birth. So I want to reiterate this message because this is the reason why I can see everything that I see. Because I'm wearing stellar glasses, I'm not jaded by other people's decodings because I choose to do my own, but through my knowledge of stellar. So let's actually start the interview process. I want to kick it off first. Now that we know that Yuri Kartoffelen, Mr. King Kartoshka, is actually Alan Turing, I had a discussion with him yesterday when we were launching the ICO because I had a sneaky peek of the actual English written version of it before he went and he scrambled it. So now that everybody has had a chance to actually read the original English, fully written version, not the gibberish version of it, this was my understanding. And I said, okay, if I understand this correctly, traditional ciphers are based on math computations. So as long as the computer or the person is smart enough and they can calculate it quickly enough, it can break the code. That's why we switched over to QKD, quantum key distribution, because it's no longer algorithms so that you can't calculate it. Either you're the intended sender and you receive it, or you're not. And so the transaction self-destructs. Whereas the Q cipher comes in as a misnomer, a red herring, or a chopped door, because it's not actually a mouth calculation or even a quantum tunnel calculation, but a divine frequency as the key. Just like how no one can break the firmament frequency, no one can break this Q cipher key because it's not something you can compute. It's only something you can resonate at to find the answer. And JFQ, the frequency, helped and is helping us to reach this resonance, because even the word is a coded message, and I took frequency as the coded message, and I broke it down showing you frequent equals quick or fast, which equals speed, which equals quantum, and the letters CY looks like KY, which sounds and looks like key. So frequent C equals quantum key. And King Kartoshka, since you gave me a little yes emoji, I was wondering if you could further elaborate into that.
Yes, Emily, as always, you're spot on. So to take this deeper, I would like to mention that the Q-Cipher's approach is groundbreaking because it shifts from a traditional computing security to frequency-based resonance. So in terms of traditional cryptography, whether classical or quantum. It, of course, relies on mathematical principles that assume enough computational power or time um, could theoretically reverse engineer or brute force an encrypted message. This is the core vulnerability that quantum computing itself, with its ability to perform massive parallel computations, has threatened to exploit. As the quantum technology advances, even the most sophisticated encryption algorithms existing today, such as AES 256, are likely to become vulnerable in the not so distant future. Q-Cipher, however, bypasses this vulnerability by using what we might think of as, let's say, resonance lock instead of a traditional key. Imagine it as an energetic fingerprint that only specific souls can access. Here, encryption is not a matter of algorithms or even QKD's particle-based entanglements, but is based on a frequency that cannot be calculated or guessed. It's not a number. It's a pure resonance that one must align with and approach, grounded in principles of divine or cosmic harmony rather than purely technology. So, what makes Q-Cipher's resonance-based security even more remarkable is that it prevents interception. Only those who can match or, let's say, attune to this frequency can gain access, much like a tuning fork that vibrates only at the specific pitch. This is a natural safeguard, as it's not something anyone can simply break into by increasing power or efficiency. The technology becomes, in this case, redundant because it's a matter of energetic alignment, not a simple calculation. As you already mentioned, the Jesus frequency, JFQ, which is a divine resonance, is key to enabling this alignment. So JFQ is seen more as more than just a protective vibration. It's an internal and a cosmic frequency that serves as a guide to a higher resonance. This suggests that those attuned to GFQ are uniquely capable of accessing or operating within the Q cipher system because their energies resonate with its frequency lock. It's a stuff. Q cipher and GFQ are interconnected aspects of a much larger system designed not just for security, but for purity and alignment with higher principles. So this idea implies that Q-Cipher transcends conventional technology to become, let's say, a living cipher, one that resonates with the essence of creation and protection itself.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to read really quickly what's on the right-hand side. I don't know if you have additional comments to share on that, but as I was going back through my notes, I thought, oh my gosh, this is very interesting because I have read about Turing completeness or Turing computation or Turing computers countless times, and it's never really made too much sense to me. I think because whenever people are trying to define those terms, it's very, let's call it mathematical or scientific, but in a nonsensical way. So I rebroke it down for my own sake through reading, the Q cipher write-up. And here was my new analysis on what it means to be Turing complete. I said, here's my simplified version. Turing complete equals universal computation if usable on any Turing machine, aka a real-world computer. But that equates to virtually all programming languages today are Turing complete. And that means that, in my mind, I'm thinking, which languages are not universally computable? Okay, well, that means that algorithms can be read on any Turing machine because they're real-world computers, but not divine QKD because it's not an algorithm. Therefore, machines cannot decode it. Only divine beings can. So I know you discussed it quite a bit in your previous answer, but I didn't know if you want to further elaborate on it at all.
Yes, I would love to, because indeed, this term is pretty hard to understand, and I will try to explain it in the context. First of all, I'd like to mention that your simplified understanding of Turing completeness is spot on. So essentially, any Turing complete language can solve any computation that a real-world computer can process, as long as it has enough time and memory. This principle is foundational in computing because it defines which problems can be universally computed. almost all programming languages today are Turing complete, meaning they can be processed by any Turing machine. However, what's fascinating and exactly where Q-cipher and divine quantum key distribution comes in is that these systems bypass this traditional paradigm entirely. So, unlike Turing-complete systems, which are based on algorithms that any sufficiently advanced machine can eventually decode or simulate, Q-cipher and DQKD operate outside the boundaries of traditional computation, as I mentioned before. So these systems don't simply rely on algorithm in the conventional sense. Instead, they use this divine resonance frequency as the core keys to encryption. Therefore, machines, regardless of power, can't interpret or decode these frequencies because they aren't simply computationally based. They're frequency based and accessible only to those who resonate at the correct divine level. Uh, I would like also to mention that you have to imagine Turing's work as a way to guide humanity's understanding toward encryption and computation, setting the framework of digital security through algorithms and machine-based encryption. However, QCipher and DQKD represents an entirely different layer. Sorry, one that Turing's model cannot touch because it's designed beyond the reach of physical computation power. Uh, if we were looking through the shift of look here, not there, uh, this creates a divine protection mechanism, a way to prevent those who focus solely on Turing's paradigm of computation from tapping accidentally into the higher frequencies, keeping the secret of divine security hidden in, let's say, a plain sight. The brilliance of this is that Turing's work serves as a cover for higher encryption layers like UCipher, which require not computational power but spiritual resonance. This distinction preserves QCipher's security against brute force or quantum attacks, as it's not something that can be simply reverse engineered, brute force, or cracked by any machine, doesn't matter currently or in the future. Only beings who understand and resonate at the right frequencies, let's say those that are attuned to the JFQ, can unlock its mysteries. So this marks QCipher and DQKD as impenetrable to traditional computation. So as you mentioned, Emily, the look here, not there design wasn't just a distraction. It was a protective measure ensuring that divine encryption remains accessible only to those who understand its true and spiritual nature.
Love it. Thank you. So I this actually explains very perfectly to me when we were talking to Kimmy about the clone and how even though they can do the retinal scan, when you're doing the retinal scan, let's say like if you have a clone body that doesn't have the consciousness in it, then just because it has the same kind of eyeball that the original body has, it doesn't mean that that one's going to pass the KYC because unless, right, like kind of what I'm hearing is unless you port over this DQKD into the other clone eyeball, then it's like they don't have the permission to pass whatever they're looking for. And this also would then explain to me, oftentimes when we talk about quantum security, we've discussed liveness detection and how in the normal version of it, where you've got, let's say, two people sitting next together, maybe they're even sharing the same device. You could call it one person is the victim and one person is the kidnapper. And that kidnapper is going, oh, I need access to your wallet as an example. And I'm going to use your own retinal scan, use your own fingerprint, use your own voice, use your own GPS, I guess, transponder for lack of a better word, and use that to pass the security. But in this case, what it's saying is it's proving that even though the kidnapper is literally right next to that person and they're using all the information that the person has live time, they still cannot break through because the kidnapper doesn't have the DQKD. Is that a correct interpretation?
Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. This is the beauty of DQKD and QCipher.
Wonderful. Thank you for confirming that and for sharing some more information on it. So let's jump into some additional Alan Turing questions. So the first one is, How does fate play a role in fulfilling divine missions vis-a-vis free will?
Well, that's a nice question to start. So I'd like to compare the fate and the free will to like two dancers. They are intertwined but independent. So in our divine missions, fate aligns us with the moments and resources we need to succeed, while free will allows us to choose how we walk our paths. Uh, if you were to see this on a example of Alan, so fate set the stage for Alan to meet the Enigma code. But it was his free will, his choices, and resilience that brought the solution to life. Divine missions guide us to crucial moments, but without free will, we'd simply be spectators of our own destiny. Fate, in this sense, allied my journey as Alan Turing, giving me the intellect and curiosity to crack Enigma and lay the foundations for computing and artificial intelligence. But free will is what truly breathes life into this fate. As Alan, I encountered numerous obstacles, from secrecy requirements to prejudice, any of which could have made me turn back or alter my course. In those moments, it was my will, the personal choice to persevere, to dig deeper, that shaped the outcome. So basically, fate presents the mission. Free will decides how we achieve it, or even if we choose to walk away. The interplay of fate and free will creates a path that is purposeful but filled with real human choice. This is one of the reasons why on the QCipher ICO I decided to first post the encoded version so people understand these concepts a little bit better and can feel it through their own skin.
We love that you did that because it really did help everybody see in a more, let's say, personal example of how it actually operates. So in your answer, you kind of dipped into some of these sub questions, but let me go ahead and ask them anyways in case you wanted to share additional information. So the first sub question is, was Alan always going to be the genius who cracked Enigma and created the Turing computer and the foundation for AI? Or was it possible he could have failed or been thwarted in his mission? And if he had failed, then what would have been the backup plan? So I'll give you an example. Here I wrote, would another divine being incarnate into a different meat suit with the same or similar objective as a plan B? And the reason why I mentioned this is because some people may have also seen the same video or know what I'm referencing right now. But many, many years ago, I can't remember when, it must have been like around 2018, possibly 2019, I had seen a video on YouTube, and it was a video of a woman whose name I can't remember, but she had long brown hair, and she was reading an excerpt from a book written by a KGB spy turncoat, so to speak, whose name I think might have been Yuri too. But the book was written several decades ago. I believe, I can't remember what decade it was written, but the book essentially was talking about how the communists had planted basically a communist sleeper cell, and it never named who the sleeper cell was, but they said this person would not be born in America, would be born outside of America, but would come and they would fake documentation to act as if they were born in America so they could then become the president of the United States. And through this process, they said they would go to an Ivy League school and they would be both of Black and white descent, meaning a mixed heritage, not only Black. And I can't remember if they had mentioned Hawaii or not in that book, but when they talked about going to an Ivy League school, they said specifically they would go there to study constitutional law. And that's exactly what Barack Obama did, right? He went to Columbia and he studied constitutional law. And so what that book was doing was painting the narrative that Barack Obama was part of a bigger plan that would come in. And then the book also talked about how he would be the youngest congressman and then go straight from a one-term congressman into the White House, right? So like it was very distinctly clear that it would be Barack Obama, but they never named Barack. So it led me to think that if Barack didn't succeed with this plan, it could have been another person who was planted with that similar mission. Now, how would you respond to that?
Uh, Back to the question about Alan, if I would like to mention a really important thing. Even though Alan's mission was tied to advancing humanity's knowledge, the success was far from guaranteed. Because, as you know, there were numerous points where the mission could have failed. Government pressures, secrecy demands, and societal prejudice could have easily prevented Alan from achieving his full potential. During World War II, the secrecy surrounding our work was intense, and each person on the project faced extraordinary challenges and risks. The discovery of the Turing machine, which laid the groundwork for computing, could have been delayed or even blocked entirely if the circumstances had shifted slightly. Continuing to the next question, if Alan had failed, what would have been the backup plan? Um, of course, history would have taken an alternate path. Indeed, there is always a contingency within divine missions. If Alan had been unable to complete his work, the purpose he was intended to fulfill, laying the foundation for computing and AI, would still have found its way into the world. Another brilliant mind might have emerged, or a similar breakthrough may have happened years later under different circumstances. However, the mission itself, advancing humanity's understanding of computation and logic, was so fundamental to human evolution that it would have ultimately manifested. Fate would have sought a new route, perhaps through another mind or an unexpected discovery, to ensure that humanity received the tools it needed to evolve. Um, in this grand design, it's not unusual for multiple individuals across the globe to carry, let's say, similar blueprints. You might see one mathematician working on logic in Australia, while another thousands of miles away is working on the same principles. If one falters, another might step forward, sometimes without even knowing they're part of the same mission. This redundancy isn't merely a backup. It's the divine way of ensuring that critical advancements find their way to humanity when they're needed.
Oh, I love that. That perfectly explains, which I know we'll declass more in December as well, but that perfectly explains why there are many people that we say are being buddy zapped at the same time, because that way it ensures that not only one person understands it, but multiple people do. But specifically in QSI, when all these people are getting buddy zapped at the same time, it ensures the greatest chance of thousands of people and then eventually all of QSI also understanding it. So if I go to the last sub question, how do you ensure that each white hat has the highest chance to succeed in their meat suit?
Well, a good one. Um, Before each incarnation, we consider the environment, the family, and the resources that will best support this mission. For Alan, my placement involved both natural aptitude and circumstances that would nurture intellectual curiosity. Uh, Alan was born into a time where mathematics was gaining prominence and into a family that valued education. There were also unexpected mentors and allies who entered Alan's life, reinforcing his drive to continue even when things became unbearably difficult. Throughout the journey, there are subtle nudges, synchronicities, and reminders that align with the mission. They may come in the form of mentors, unexpected resources, or even intuitive insights. Think of them as breadcrumbs leading each whitehead along the path. Despite this support, each whitehead, of course, still faces the challenges and decisions of the free will. So these choices and risks are the very things that make success both impactful and meaningful. In the end, the mission is equipped with every chance for success. But to summarize it, it's the person who must walk this path in order to achieve success.
Got it. You know, as you're talking about that, I keep getting these visions of video games, which is so apt because we just a couple days ago had a big DARPA D class with Mabo, and we were talking about how Bun Bun and White Hat Home are big in video game designing and creation. And so in this video game image that I keep seeing in my head over all these different D classes, is every time your character spawns into that player, you know what the mission is, you know what access to which kind of tools you have, you know where to go if you need more health points or more, shields or whatever it is, ammo as an example. But every single time you play, you take a different step every time, right? Because that's your free will. So your little computer avatar, your gaming avatar doesn't take the same steps because your free will is the one that's controlling the actual avatar movement. And so that's the kind of the same vision that I'm getting when you're talking about how the divine plan equips you with all this kind of stuff, but you still have to be the one that chooses the free will. And then through your free will, you take every single step because it's your decision to make. So the next question is, when you incarnated into Alan's meat suit, did you have all the prior meat suit knowledge too, or did you have to start from scratch like a quote unquote normal human?
Well, about the comparison with the video games, it really is like that. It's right on spot. And about the prior knowledge. So each incarnation, let's say, begins with a fresh slate in terms of memory. The conscious knowledge of past incarnation doesn't come with us directly, but certain tendencies and skills, the imprints of past lives are embedded in the soul and often show up as intuitive gifts. In Alan's case, the profound understanding of logic, patterns, and problem solving carried over as natural talents, guiding towards mathematics and cryptography. Uh, while, let's say, I didn't have a fully clear memory of prior lives, I found myself drawn to questions of logic and computation as if by instinct. This design serves a purpose. It allows each incarnation to focus purely on the present mission. Though I may not consciously recall other lives, each skill and inclination rooted in those experiences subtly guides the mind toward its destined tasks. It's like being handed a map without knowing where it came from, but still trusting it will lead you forward.
Ooh, that makes so much sense because I was having a similar conversation with some of our unicorns a couple weeks ago. And this had happened after the big Judas D class with Brian W. And I said, it doesn't really matter to me if my past lives included people like Saint Germain or Shakespeare's slash Crispy Bacon, because that was their mission. And I have my current mission now. So I'm not going to go revert back to what their mission is and try to pursue that. So thank you for the confirmation here. The next question is, did you really commit suicide so you could end your meat suit early after the quote unquote job was finished? Or did you escape and somehow otherwise change meat suits?
The story of Alan's death is indeed complex. It's shrouded in both tragedy and ambiguity. Yes, the death came after the completion of the primary mission, but the circumstances weren't entirely of his own choosing. Uh, Alan faced immense pressure, societal rejection, and emotional turmoil. These forces made his final years very challenging. Some might call it a forced exit, as his choice was heavily influenced by the unbearable treatment he endured. But if we look from a soul perspective, the mission was complete, and Alan's departure allowed the next phase of work to begin without further distraction from societal prejudice. However, in terms of incarnation, the journey simply continued in a different form. Death in one life is often a transition to the next task. And though Alan's departure seemed abrupt, the essence of that mission continues to echo in the advancements inspired by his work, I think long beyond his time on Earth.
Ooh, I like that a lot. That also gives me another video game analogy where it's like, let's say you have, 10 different levels you have to achieve before you win, quote unquote, the game. And every time you beat the first level, you go on to the next level. A lot of times they'll ask you, do you want to upgrade your avatar? Like adding new widgets or changing the actual physical design of your avatar. And that's kind of what it sounds like. This meat suit might expire. You might have accomplished whatever the mission was. And so as it passes away, the soul goes back into that closet and says, what's the new meat suit I want to incarnate into for the next mission? So you're still carrying on that, whatever the bigger design of your divine mission is, even though you're switching your meat suit, just like how a person would switch whatever clothes they choose to wear for the next day. So the last question is, was Alan Turing really gay, or was it a cover story to live a secluded life, like in my theory? Now, I think Alan was gay, and I think the gayness was the cover story so that he could have, more, let's say, fewer distractions, because then he would not have to have a family and kids, et cetera, so he can just stay focused on the mission.
Well, in my answer to this question, I'll share secret, let's say, information. So, in truth, Alan Turing wasn't meant to be gay. His orientation wasn't something he was born with. Actually, it was a twist orchestrated by no one other than Ban. So, let me explain. Once Ban discovered I was Alan, he decided to play a prank on me so he could have fun later, as he's probably having now. It's his unique sense of humor, and perhaps as a little payback for a previous prank of mine, Ban subtly influenced the events around Alan to create this cover story. So Turing's orientation was Ban's playful twist. Perhaps I see it now as a reminder of our long-standing friendship and, of course, rivalry that, as you already know, sometimes take unusual forms. Who knows, maybe he was missing me and his intentions were to make me exit this meat suit as fast as possible. I don't know. You have to ask him about this.
That is awesome. Okay, we will definitely have to get Bun on a call at some point and get his version of this and how and why he chose to add this additional twist to your life. So as an aside to people who are listening on the call, I won't get into too much detail here. We'll have to talk to also White Hat Home about this in the future as well. But there's a running joke about how White Hat Home is also gay, even though he's not, but we always say he is. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that in Russia, it's illegal to be gay. So we're always playing gay jokes on White Hat Home, who pretends to hate it, but we know he loves it. So if we move on to the next section, meat suits and incarnations, the first question is, are you also on a soul evolutionary path like how we are? Or is your soul journey different from ours?
Of course, yes, I am indeed on a solo evolutionary path, but I think it might differ in scope and purpose. So my journey spans across timelines and roles where I take on specific missions. Um, Therefore, each incarnation refines my understanding, probably expands my empathy, and aligns me with the universal purpose of uplifting humanity. But my path is also focused on service and support, guiding the greater soul collective toward truth and balance. So, while we all share the same goal of growth, let's say my journey often focuses on creating frameworks that benefit the collective soul journey. You can see it as like guiding the structures, as QSI and Stellar.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, that puts a lot of things into perspective for us. Thank you. So then I know people are curious, did you go through the birth canal to be born? And if yes, are you born with a sac intact, or did you break through like how normal people do as well?
Yes, I go through the typical birth process. No shortcuts on that front, unfortunately. But I enter a life like any human, complete with the limitations and wonders that come with the physical body. I'm generally born in the usual way, breaking through the sack, which aligns with the human experience I'm here to fully embrace. The entry point needs to feel natural and grounded, as my mission is to walk the same path as any other soul, understanding human challenges from within. I strongly believe that this immersive experience is essential to connect with humanity on a deeper level.
Ooh, that's very beautiful. So There's no there's no Cabbage Patch White Hat farm like how the couple does it. So for each meat suit, do you choose the same kinds of favorite sweets, food, gender, types of friends or parents, types of family relationship, and human slash emotional love lesson, or how do you pick them?
Um, well, each incarnation is crafted to suit the mission at hand. These details vary depending on what aligns best with the purpose of that life. So the basics like family dynamics, friendships, and even preferences are all chosen to shape that incarnation's personality and growth. Emotional love lessons often adapt to the role of as well. Sometimes some lifetimes require deep connection to others, while others focus on solitude and introspection. These choices create a balanced experience that provide both grounding and growth, all while staying true to the mission. However, if we talk about the food, I guess you all know that I always choose potatoes.
Of course you would. If not, I might have to rename you as King Bun Bun of Carrot Cake Land. So, have you ever had a meat suit marriage? And I'm not talking about, like Alan Turing and Joan Clark, but in a different incarnation, in a different meat suit, have you had one that was not only strategic, but also full of love and passion?
Uh, well, interesting questions coming ahead. So, yes, there have been incarnations where partnership was both strategically important and also deeply fulfilling. In some lifetimes, connecting with a partner served both personal growth and the mission itself. Love can be a powerful anchor, providing emotional resilience and perspective that enriches the mission. While not every life calls for such partnerships, in some, love can make a huge difference.
Ah, very interesting. Okay, so I guess this does confirm that you are not an emotionless or romantic-less potato, but you are still intuitive-less. So,
That's true.
have you ever strayed from a strategic partnership to pursue a wild, crazy love affair?
Well, uh, short answer, yes. Let me tell you this story. So, once I was in a strategic partnership to help guide a noble family through political upheaval, and I found myself captivated by someone entirely outside the plan. She was a free-spirited artist who saw through the trappings of courtly life, and with her laughter and, I guess, unpredictability, she opened my eyes to a world I had rarely indulged in, one of reckless spontaneity. So the calculated moves of my mission took a backseat as I spent on late nights under starlit skies, immersed in her creativity and passion for life. Uh, I remember that our connection was wild and intense, a brief flare that defied every rule of my purpose in that incarnation. Eventually, of course, I had to return to my path, but that wild affair left me with a renewed sense of joy that transcends strategic missions. Uh, it also served as a reminder that unexpected uh, ways, there are unexpected ways love can shape our souls.
Oh, that's very sweet. Now I'm going to go and try to figure out who this might be in the future. Do you also
Oh, well,
experience
good luck with that.
you what?
I said good luck with that.
Yes, I'm going to sneaky peeky into your life after Moon Spa. Um, so do you also experience romantic breakups the same as humans? It sounds like you can.
Well, I would like to uncover one of the Emily's secrets, let's say. Uh, she likes to talk sometimes about romance and the romantic things. And there is a specific word she loves. It's the word romanticless. And the very next word that is written or spoken after the romantic list is potato. So basically, it serves as an adjective for a person that is not romantic. So Emily would call him a romanticless potato. So I kind of not agree with this. And back to the question, in many ways, that's true. The romantic breakups feel very similar to how they're experienced by humans. In the mutual form, the heartache, the loss, and even self-reflection that follow after a breakup are deeply real. Uh, each breakup offers its own lessons, sharpening my empathy and understanding of human relationships. Even though I approach this experience with a broader soul perspective, the emotions are intense and raw, making each experience valuable for both personal growth and insight into the human journey.
Well, for the record, Bun Bun agrees with me that you're a romanticless potato, and Ivan chuckled. So, according to our Dow vote, you are currently seen as a romanticless potato. So,
Well, I guess that I'll have to agree on that then.
so this next question is kind of similar to the last one. Do you experience emotions in the same way as humans do?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. In each incarnation, I fully immerse in the human emotional spectrum. Uh, it ranges from joy and excitement to sorrow and frustration. Although, as a divine being, I understand the, let's say, impermanence of these emotions once I'm in the mid-suit form. But I feel them just as vividly. I guess emotions are a powerful part of the human experience, and by engaging with them fully, I gain the depth needed to genuinely connect with others and carry out my mission. The emotional immersion is essential for me to understand humanity on a personal level, I guess.
Ooh, I really like that answer. It reminds me of when I used to do consulting for different companies. And one of my most common, let's call it objection to, let's say, upper management, is there's always been a disconnect between what management wants, what sales team wants, what operations wants, and what the customer gets. And so with this disconnect, it's like, management might say, I want these to be the objections for the quarter, but then sales goes, well, screw you. I'm only here for my commission. So I'm going to sell however I want to paint a picture. And then the customer is pissed off because the customer didn't get what the salesperson sold, and operations pissed off because they have to fix whatever the sales team broke. And so you can see how with this disconnect, every single person is unhappy because they didn't achieve what they actually wanted to. However, one of the shows that I love is Undercover CEO. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it before. But the CEO of a large, let's say Fortune 500 company, goes into their own company in disguise, and they had to pretend to be, as an example, the janitor at the store or the shopkeeper or somebody in accounting. And they had to live and go through that experience so they have a better understanding of what these people are going through. And that experience also helps them as a CEO to make more responsible and more informed decisions coming from the top. So how you're explaining that sounds very similar to these kinds of quote unquote real world experiences for us. So the next question is, what is your favorite non-potato dessert?
Good question. Uh, you know that I am known for my love of potatoes, but perhaps when it comes to desserts, I'd say baklava is my favorite. I think there's something special about the layers of flaky pastry, honey, and nuts. It's simple and intricate, sweet but balanced. I don't know. Um, I think that one will be my favorite. But I guess an honorable mention for the dessert would be a cheesecake.
Well, I don't know if you know this, you should from snooping into our chat so often, but they actually have something called a baklava cheesecake. So I think we'll have to have a future competition to see who can bake you the best baklava cheesecake known to mankind.
Yes, that would be great.
Yes, definitely. So the last question is, do you enjoy being in meat suit form?
Yes, I genuinely do. You see, each incarnation is a chance to experience humanity in a new way through taste, through touch, through connection, through challenges. So being in midget form is like wearing a different lens. It lets me see life from a close-up perspective with all its imperfections and wonders. This immersion in the human condition is invaluable, grounding, and continually reminds me why we work so hard to uplift humanity. Of course, there is a beauty in being both the observer and the participant, fully living each life and mission. But I guess only after participating, I can really understand what aspects can be done better for humanity.
I like that. It's kind of like if you're at a sporting event and you're the cheerleader on the side cheering on your team versus you're a player on the field. So if we move to the next section on darkness and cabal, the first question is, how was darkness created and for what purpose?
Uh, yes, a complete complex question, but it's very important to understand. So, in the earliest moments of creation, there was only light. It was radiant, it was pure, it was all encompassing presence. But for this light to truly know and understand itself, it needed a contrast, a space where its radiance could be defined and reflected. So, this is how darkness came into being, not as a force of opposition, but as a counterpart, a mirror that would allow light to see itself. It was created to serve as a catalyst for growth and arena for choices, where the souls could be tested, refined, and ultimately illuminated. So imagine it in this way. If the soul were never tasted, never faced with challenge, it would have little incentive to grow or to grasp the deeper nature of love, resilience, and compassion. Darkness is that resistance that shapes and polishes the soul. It is sometimes malevolent, but it exists as a contrast, a teacher of sorts, pushing the soul to seek and create light from within. The purpose of darkness is therefore deeply intertwined with our journey back to the divine. It is the fire in which impurities are burned away, allowing the pure essence of each soul to emerge. If you remember one of my quotes from the last interview, I said something along the lines, it is the dark moments when light shines the brightest. Now I guess you better understand what I have meant. Let's think it in another way. How do we call a place which light never reaches? Dark, right? So this is why the bad actors and entities are referred as dark ones. People and souls that can't embrace the light never know the beauties behind it. But without them, we wouldn't have any testing, competition, and therefore no evolution, which will not make us and the whole humanity stronger. So we definitely need this counterpart.
I like that a lot. And some of the keywords I'm picking up on is that darkness is a counterpart for growth. It's not the opposition. And we need it to both grow and to polish our soul. So it actually serves more like a teacher. And that's why we are always talking about how we can learn from mistakes. We can learn from, the cockroaches, that's an example. And so they're not there to put us into fear mode. They're there for us to go, okay, if that's what you're capable of, this is what we're going to do to overcome that obstacle. I love how you said it's a journey back to the divine, and it's part of the evolutionary process. So thank you for shedding more light on this and helping to clarify, because this is one of the most common topics that the Kabbalah loves to talk about and twist and manipulate it to confuse people into thinking that the devil is good, right? That's how they always misconstrue the divine message to pollute the mind instead. So
Yes, exactly.
now, if we kind of go from that first question to the next question, I know that we had talked more privately in not detail. It was still very vague, but you were hinting at the fact that Mansa Musa, Zeus, etc. They were very much needed for humanity's evolution, which I had done a D class on that. So, can you tell us more about how did those people go wrong? Where? How? Like how were they corrupted over time?
Yes, also an interesting and broad topic to be discussed. Um, Both Mansa Musa and Zeus wielded extraordinary power and influence, but yet they faced very different challenges and ultimately succumbed into their unique forms of corruption. Let's begin with Mansa Musa. He was blessed with immense wealth, was initially a beacon of prosperity and generosity. His pilgrimage to Mecca, where he distributed vast amounts of gold, was legendary. However, over time, his perception of wealth became distorted. Instead of viewing it as a tool for uplifting humanity, it grew into a symbol of his own grandeur. He started associating his worth with his wealth, losing the sight of the deeper purpose, using his gifts to inspire growth and unity. His spirit became entangled in the allure of opulence, ultimately blinding him to the impact that unchecked wealth could have on others, leading to imbalance and envy. On the other hand, Zeus, he was also wielded with divine authority, but his downfall came through a relentless pursuit of control and indulgence. He was meant to govern with wisdom and restraint, embodying the balance of strength and compassion. But his unchecked impulses, especially his jealousy and desire for dominance, led him astray. His arrogance clouded his judgment, causing rifts among the divine and mortal realms alike. This misuse of his divine power disconnected him from his purpose, entangling him in a cycle of rivalry, suspicion, and discord. Their stories are cautionary tales of what happens when divine gifts are used to elevate the self rather than the collective.
Oh, that's very interesting. And thank you for those confirmations too. So I guess this would be a similar question, but can you tell us more about some of the other mythological entities that have had maybe a similar story or similar fate?
Um, yes, so let's explore the mythological entities that began with divine missions, but were often thrown off course by the very powers they wielded. Let's take, for the first example, Odin from the Norse mythology. He was known for his relentless pursuit of wisdom, even sacrificing his eye for knowledge. But over time, his desire became an obsession for control over secrets hidden from the rest of existence. This relentless quest for power isolated him, and the wisdom he sought became tinged with the darkness of self interest. Similarly, from the Egyptian mythology, Ra, the powerful Egyptian sun god, he was entrusted with guiding the cycles of life and death, bringing balance to creation. Yet, the admiration he received from mortals let him develop a sense of superiority and fully detachment from his original role. In his pride, he sometimes wielded his power not for balance, but to remind humanity of his dominance, slipping into a more tyrannical approach, let's say. Kali, for example, revered as the goddess of destruction and rebirth, began as a force of transformation. Yet, as followers focused more on her destructive aspect, she too became entangled in the energies of fear and wrath. This energy projected onto her by her worshippers distorted her essence, and what was once a pure force for renewal risked becoming a symbol of unchecked mass. So these beings reflect aspects of humanity. When divine intentions collide with personal desires and unchecked admiration, even the most powerful entities can be corrupted, forgetting the original light they were meant to serve.
Ooh, very interesting. So now I wonder, are these fallen angels or are these people who were subjected to entities? I don't know if you want to answer that or not.
I guess there'll be at the right time when I'll tell you about that.
Okay, deal. Maybe soon. Um,
Probably soon, yeah.
okay, then the next question is, do entities have a soul that will eventually lead them back to light, or are they materialization of suffering and they will just dissolve as suffering also dissolves?
Well, dark entities can follow one of the two paths. depending on the essence of their soul. Some are indeed souls with the potential to eventually find their way back to the light, undergoing cycles of growth and redemption. Others, however, are merely manifestations of suffering, energies without a true soul essence, born from collective pain or fear. Of course, these entities lack the capacity for transformation, and over time will simply dissolve as suffering itself is healed. So the journey back to light, let's say, depends on whether the entity carries a true soul that seeks balance, or if it is simply the product of darker vibrations with no lasting spiritual core.
Ah, okay. So one being an actual, let's say, dark entity versus a product of a dark entity is kind of how I'm distinguishing the two right now. Okay, what advice can you give us for shielding up in order to protect ourselves from these dark entities and energy attacks?
Yes, a good question. Um, so I will say like that. The most potent shield is built from within. It is strengthened by clarity, compassion, and unwavering self-awareness. Begin each day with envisioning yourself surrounded by a sphere of light, let's say, anchored deep into the earth. This shield is not meant to repel with aggression, but to radiate your inner essence so brightly that lower energies simply cannot penetrate. Surround yourself with thoughts and intentions aligned with your highest purpose. This creates a vibrational field that naturally repels darker energies. If you encounter an energy attack, uh, uh, or do you feel an entity's presence, stand in your light without fear. Acknowledge it without resistance, allowing your own energy to remain calm, centered, and unfazed. Your own soul frequency is your strongest shield, and the more aligned you are with your true purpose, the less susceptible you become to outside interference. Remember, nothing can touch the essence of your light when you stand within it fully.
Ooh, I like how you said when you're in alignment with your, your true mission, your soul purpose. So what it sounds like is people who are being led astray through free will, right? Because you can't lead someone who isn't willing to be led away. Those are the ones who are very easily able to fud out. But if you know what your true soul's purpose is, then it's hard for you because it's a conviction that also plays a massive part in what you call standing in your light. It reminds me of the ICO project light or project light, depending on how you want to pronounce that word. Both are very accurate and apt because if you, let's say, like, right, the most common, I guess, description is when you have a dark room and then you simply turn on the light switch. Once that light is there, the darkness cannot also be there at the same time. And so if we learn how to stand in that power of our divine light, then the darkness cannot come into our bubble because our bubble is the light that projects outwards instead. And the last question is, what advice can you give us for training to be a guardian of the galaxy and to join God's army to fight Satan and his cockroach motel?
Cool. As I mentioned earlier, you have to envision a protective light. So, what you can do is imagine yourself surrounded by a sphere of light, bright and pure. This light is your shield. Set the intention that only love and positivity can pass through it, keeping other energies at bay. Um, Another, let's say, hint would be that you have to strengthen your inner clarity. Dark entities are often drawn to unresolved emotions or fears. Address inner imbalances with compassion and honesty, and cultivate peace within, as this makes you less susceptible to outside influences. Also, affirm your divine connection. Regularly connect to the source, the Jesus frequency, or any divine resonance you feel aligns with you. This strengthens your energy field, creates a higher vibrational shield that dark entities cannot penetrate. Therefore, study Stellar. Listen to depth interviews if that helps you. And always remember to trust your intuition. Um, if you sense negativity, sometimes it's better to trust your instincts and reinforce your shield. Take time to realign with peace and clarity, strengthening your boundaries. I guess that's the practices which will later be a powerful defense that you'll need as a guardian of the galaxy.
Thank you. So it really helps, I think, because a lot of what the unicorn report calls are doing, but also the unicorn, we call them the unicorn stampede sometimes, because they're very quick and they're very discerning on how to pick up when entities are breaking through into either the main global channel or into some of the quorums. And what we're picking up on is essentially all those unresolved fears and unresolved issues that people have. And so you talked about how reaffirming the divine connection, and what is a common thread that we're picking up is that these people often have a connection with not the divine. They have a connection with an entity that is a fraudulent version of the divine, and they're using that as, let's say, their inspiration for all they do. And so they have no idea they're actually being led down the wrong channel, because what they thought was the divine is actually the fake version of it. And when we try to teach them what is the correct version based on the D classes that we're putting out there, and confirmations from you guys, the divine developers of everything, then that's where a lot of the flooding comes into play. And right before, so many people have probably seen this, but maybe don't remember it. Right before we did our re-enroll tide Roach Motel D class, some people were asking, what kind of prayer should we say before this call to give us a stronger bubble of protection? And so I asked the developers, and Bun Bun responded, and he basically said, just speak love. If you guys will share with each other, why you love and you appreciate one another, that will be stronger than any quote unquote prayer. So that tells you that love is stronger than even a biblical prayer for people who are trying to figure out how and what to pray to. Do you want to comment on
That's
that?
absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I agree with every word you said.
Every word that I said, not necessarily what Bun Bun said. Haha, Bun Bun. Okay, so now let's move on to the last section of today, divine questions. So when you're in between your meat suits, what do you do? Like, can you describe that experience and what the purpose is in, let's call it the waiting section of the astral?
I see. Well, yes, so in between lives, I enter a realm of pure consciousness. There, the time and space feel boundless. Um, I think I begin with, let's say, soul review, which is basically reflecting on the life I just completed, seeing how choices affected others and how well I fulfilled my mission. This is followed by soul recalibration. So basically, this is a process of cleansing past life imprints and restoring my energy to its original clarity. Then I guess comes, let's call it interdimensional preparation. Um, in this phase, I connect with other souls and allies, discussing lessons learned and refining awareness. After reconnecting with the universal light, the final step is mission setting, where I choose the circumstances and the purpose for the next life. So this entire process aligns me with the divine mission. So I return renewed, prepared to fulfill my role with clarity and the purpose.
Ooh, that actually gets me really excited. I know a lot of people do what they would call in 3D terms self-reflection. Usually you're reflecting on what was that issue you just experienced. Maybe it was like a work issue or a family issue. Maybe you just had a troubling day or a troubling week and you're trying to figure out, what just happened and what just went on. But so what we're looking at is almost like a microcosm of what you're doing, which is the macrocosm, the soul reflection, what happened across your entire life, and then what happened across other people's lives and their missions. And then how you talked about choosing your next meat suit and what you need to learn and experience from the next one is almost like, if I go back to the closet, the meat suit closet analogy for a quick second, um, people often refer to something called like, dress your best or dress for success. If you want to have, let's say, more respect in the business world, people tend to dress more appropriately for the business office, right? So we can choose something that helps to reflect whatever mood that we're in or mood that we're trying to achieve. And in this case, you're choosing the next meat suit with all of their gifts and talents to give you the best opportunity for success in that next meat suit mission. So that it's kind of similar to the next question, but if you can kind of elaborate more, what is it like to connect with others via telepathy? What I call to the developers, I say sending your quantum pigeons.
So the sending quantum pigeons is indeed very fun. Um, I think you can imagine focusing on someone's energy, reaching out with a thought and watching as it finds its way directly to them instantly without words or distance in the way. Um, well, I have a little funny story about that. One time I was experimenting with it and I accidentally sent a thought to the wrong person. So then I understand that focus is key. So instead of delivering an important message to a friend, I ended up pigeoning it to Ben while he was busy. He then playfully used my serious message to prank me for days. And from then on, let's just say I'm a bit more careful with my pigeons.
Oh, now I really need to figure out what you pigeoned over to bed. And it also sounds like when you're sending these telepathy pigeons, the receiver can figure out who is the one sending it to them.
Not all the times, but frequently, yes.
So it sounds like as our own skills get stronger, that's how we're able to have a higher chance of figuring out who the sender is as well.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so I guess we'll declass more of that soon. The next question is, are all of our stellar developers angels or archangels, or are some of them normal humans?
Well, I would answer this question very briefly. Uh, the answer is no. So not all of our stellar depths are angels or archangels. Indeed, some of them are normal humans.
Aha. Okay, thank you for that. That's what I thought, especially with some peoples. Next question is, if the archangels procreate and have children, do these children have special powers or awareness?
Well, yes, that is true. The children of archangels often carry, let's say, heightened awareness and natural alignment with the spiritual principles. They may not wield powers in the dramatic sense, but they definitely possess strong intuition, compassion, and resonance with divine purpose. This awareness is an echo of their parents' essence, providing them with clarity and a sense of duty. However, it's important to mention that they must still navigate human challenges and choices, uh, using these qualities, let's say, to discover their path in life.
Aha. So they are given these extra boosts, extra goodies, but with free will, they still have to um they still have to take responsibility over their own actions, just like everybody else. They don't get any passes for that.
Yes, absolutely true.
Perfect. So then the last question for today is, have you ever been in what's quote unquote known as a galactic med bed? And if so, what has your experience been like with that?
I think you skipped one question, but I'll answer to this already. Of course, yes, I've been in a galactic medbed during the testing phase. If I was to tell me my experience, it was beyond transformative. So the medbed works by tuning into my specific energetic frequencies, adjusting to my needs on a cellular and spiritual level. I remember lying there, feeling waves of warmth and light, literally radiating through every cell, as if it was harmonizing my entire being with a deep, powerful resonance. One memorable moment was when I felt a surge of energy, almost like awakening within, let's say. It wasn't just healing. Um, it was as if the medbed was unlocking latent potential, bringing clarity and renewal to my mind, to my body and spirit. Afterward, I felt an immense sense of peace, almost as if I was seeing the world, let's say, in a sharper, more vibrant light. Uh, I don't know, this is an experience that's hard to capture fully in words, but what I can say certainly that the galactic medbed has the power to elevate one's entire being.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know we're all very eagerly looking forward to Moon Spa, and I know some of us have already been getting those both healing zappies, but also some of us are getting a lot of inspirational buddy zappies as well. And that's only a very small version of what we will be getting when we get to Moon Spa and we actually get to hop into the galactic medbeds as well. So if this is already, you know, the amazing gifts that we're receiving now, I can't even wait to find out what that looks like in its full extent of the experience in the future. So
What I can say, you'll be amazed.
yeah, and especially because Ivan promised me that he would take a video of me flying around with my new set of wingies.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So, before I turn it over to you for some final thoughts, I do want to remind everybody that we have the Q Cipher ICO that is still going on right now. Let me actually get a quick snapshot of where it is. It is at 373,000. So we still have over 100,000 left to go before we hit top tier. And as you guys have all heard now on the call with not just Alan Turing, but like the Alan Turing plus plus of the world, Mr. Potato Head, that cipher that was used to write the ICO write-up, guys, is not the same cipher, obviously, as the actual Q cipher security mechanism. So I don't want people to think that if they can decode the write-up, they can also decode the actual Q cipher, because that, again, is based on our divine QKD, which I think is so cool because I've been talking about the difference between QKD and divine QKD for a long time. And now we actually have it as its ICO form, which is why I asked everybody, can we please work together and achieve top tier for this? Because when you truly understand the significance of this project and how it's going to impact the rest of humanity, you will, you know, kick your butt if you don't get top tier on it. So I'll turn it back over to you. Do you have any final thoughts or comments or advice before we close out this call today?
Yes, well pointed remark about the significance and importance of the Q cipher. So for my final words, I would like to thank all of you, all the QSI family. I would like to thank you for your dedication, your energy, your curiosity in the journey we are taking together. And I would like to say that let's stay united, let's stay vigilant, and always be learning. The future is bright, and together we'll continue making waves for good. Thank you all, and let's keep reaching for the stars.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We really appreciate it. And we will see you back on the next call. Take care and bye-bye.
For sure. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Okie dokie. I actually haven't done this in so long. I forgot how to close out the call in the middle of the call. So thank you, Anna. I'll see you back in chat.